Hello everyone and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. I'm your host today, Anthony Packer. We are joined with a fantastic first AD, Carl Figueiredo.
Sweet, perfect. Thank you for having me here.
You're so welcome.
I really appreciate it and want to share the information that I have.
A lot of people know the term first AD, assistant director. If someone's entering the film industry for the first time and they may have many misconceptions about that role, how would you go about describing that department and what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Totally. Well, I think the biggest thing for an assistant director is we don't get people coffee, as a lot of my family members would think. But what we do is we're essentially a communication hotspot for everyone in the crew. Where the link between the production team and the crew members and the director and the rest of the team to make sure that the director's vision is followed. And on set, it might be the director might just mutter something to himself at the screen, be like, oh, it would be nice to see this. And it would be the assistant director's job to see if they can put that into play. Or if the even the DOP decides, oh, I think I'm gonna change or adjust these things over here, it's the assistant director's job to make sure that they've potentially heard that and also assist them in putting in all the building blocks into play to achieve whatever they need to achieve, whilst also keeping a steady structure to the day, making sure that things don't go into shambles. And
Gotcha. So I'm hearing it's a lot of facilitating other people's, creativity and allowing them to flourish.
Yeah.
Being good at saying no, I imagine, because sometimes I've been on quite a few sets and directed quite a bit and produced, and there's a lot of times where ideas from a DP or a director come up and it's the AD who ultimately has to weigh whether it's possible and kind of make that judgment call.
I would say it's the AD's call to say no if it's a time thing or if it's just too far out there. That we all want to leave room for people to be creative and for random shots to appear when they can. But if you're not on your structured time schedule, a lot of people's shoots end up dying because they have decided to throw in a random shot and they're not following their preparation that they've done and their edit that they've created. Because as soon as you add a shot, if you take out two shots that are imperative to your storyboard, then you might not have a completed project at the end. I don't know where I was going with this one. I flooded off for a little bit.
I think you've wrapped that point up quite nicely. Yeah. So it's quite a unique role. It's sort of like it requires a lot of organization. It requires a lot of due diligence and understanding the project from a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah.
What kind of personality traits or attributes do you think lend themselves to someone who you'd be like, you know what, I think you would make a good AD?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I was thinking about this for a while. I was like, what traits would I say need to go into this? I don't think you need to necessarily have a loud voice. Or a loud voice on set. It's a pretty big misconception that the AD has the loudest voice in the room. I do think you need to be able to command attention on set and also be that guiding voice. So whether or not you have a quieter voice, I don't think you need to be screaming at the top of your lungs.
Right.
But you do need to be able to command attention when things are going astray on set or when the chatter gets too loud. I think an AD needs to be able to maneuver on the fly. You need to be open and willing to make adjustments. Your mindset can never be set in stone to accommodate that, because there is a lot of prep work that goes into it again, that you've made decisions and you're like, this is how it should run. Yeah. But set is so crazy, it never runs the way you think it will. And you need to be able to make decisive decisions in moments.
Right.
Because whatever decision you make creates a world of changes for other departments. And you need to be able to, for me, I see it as I try thinking about 100 problems whenever someone asks me something. I think of 100 problems and I think, what's the best possible outcome within a matter of seconds. And you have to be okay with that. You also have to be someone who is very firm in your decision once you've made it.
Yeah.
Because if you start second guessing yourself, then those around you will start second guessing you at the same time. And that's when mistakes happen.
Right. So you think that the AD sort of mental state and their emotion can kind of spread. Like if the AD is calm and decisive, that's going to lead to a more calm and decisive set.
Totally. I always looked at myself when I was coming up in the business that I never wanted to be one of those assistant directors who was just like screaming at everyone and creating a chaotic environment. Because mental health, for one thing, is super important. When you're doing like a 12-hour day, some people are doing 16-hour days based on the time they get there, that if someone's like screaming at you, they're like, hey, go faster, work harder, be better. That's not going to cause you to work faster, be better, stronger, faster, you know?
Even if those things are maybe true and the team does need to work faster, you need to find a way to communicate that without just blaring it.
Assistant directing is just project management.
Right.
It's having a team under you and assessing their capabilities and best utilizing them to create a successful day.
Yeah. And I guess the difficulty with that is a lot of project managers these days, although you're managing a lot of people and like you say, one decision can have a sort of butterfly effect, they often get to do it like behind a computer screen or with a lot of prep. Whereas when you're an AD, you're in the field, like you're live dealing with all that. How do you kind of handle that pressure?
Weirdly enough, I think I've just gone through a lot of in my personal life, I've had a lot of chaotic experiences that not many things faze me nowadays. Especially on set, you just have to, I think the best bit of advice I could give someone is remember that you're not there to save lives. At the end of the day, you're not on set to save lives. If you make a mistake, it's okay. But holding on to a mistake, especially whilst you're at the top of a day, in the middle of a day, that can have a rippling effect on the rest of your day. So if you like are someone who holds on to that internally, you could really mess up the rest of your day. And I look at it as I'm there to make sure that the director's vision is hit. And if it's not, then we've failed as a crew, essentially, is more or less that's how I boil it down to. So if I'm letting my emotions play whilst I'm stressed out, then that means I'm doing a disservice, not only to myself, but to my director and to the rest of the crew. So yeah, I don't know. If I ever get really frazzled, I'll take a second away from set. I'll just be like, look, I'll bring my second AD onto set and be like, or my third AD and be, I need to take a minute away just to recenter myself. I do this really weird thing on the way to set if I'm like not in the right mental headspace. I'll like smile like a crazy person for like a minute just to like bring back my emotions, because I'm a naturally happy person. There's not much that does faze me, even in like other situations. It's like I think of what's the worst that could happen. We're not usually in that scenario, so everything's good. It's always a good day.
Yeah, I love that. Like I love how like you know that you're a very happy person, so when you're not feeling like yourself, as an AD, one of the best things you can do is just do something that makes you feel more like yourself. And then before you know it, you're kind of back in the right headspace.
Totally, because like people naturally will, you know that saying where we create our personality around the 5 people that we're closest to? If you're hearing the AD's voice constantly in your ear the whole day, if they're not happy, if they're not energetic, then you'll take on whatever personality they might be having. So if they're like raging the whole day at people, then it's going to deflate your energy. Yeah. And that's not going to induce a cohesive and energetic work environment. You're not going to want to work faster or harder. It's the worst if you're depressed on set or you're like not feeling at 100% and someone's like, hey, well, do it faster.
Yeah.
Keep going. Like
It's just going to spread through the whole crew like a poison at that point.
Exactly. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've like seen someone in the crew not doing well, and I'll even just take 2 minutes to the side to talk to them and find out what's going on. And just like even letting them know it's okay to have a breather, because the amount of people who will try to work through that is astonishing. Because I think like if I stop right now, the project's going to break.
Right.
And then again, the reminder, not here to save lives. You can have 5 minutes to yourself and we'll figure it out.
It's an investment, right? It's like take the 5 minutes off and then work better for the next 4 hours, as opposed to work poorly for 4 hours and get as much done as you would have gotten done in 7 hours. You know?
Exactly. So selfishly, it's all to aid me, because then I get the most shots out of it.
Which is ultimately what you're there for.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay. So we touched on this very briefly, but one thing that we really want to highlight on this series and try to shed some light on is how to find a career in these various departments.
Yeah.
Some of them it's a little bit more clear than others. Like I think a lot of people know, like if you want to be a director, best thing you can do is just direct. It's not to sort of work your way up a ladder, so to speak, as like a mini director and then a director. You just have to direct. With the AD department, it's not, at least to me, it's not evidently clear what that career path and what those skills you should acquire and the people you should meet and the skills you should learn. What do you, and I know there's no, one path. What was your path like to become a first AD, and how would you describe that path to someone watching this who thinks, you know what, like I think this could be for me?
Totally. So ultimately there is, for an assistant director, I think there are 2 different variations you can go. You can go the non-union route, which would be commercials and your hallmarks. The hallmarks, they still use the DGC. So you can go 2 routes. You can either do the non-union route, which is commercials, and your indies, which can be anything below, believe it or not, 5 million can be indies. Or you can go the union route. So if you were to do the union route, you would want to go enter in as a PA, get your logbook, start chatting to potentially the third AD or the second AD on set, because they'll usually be the hiring person for the AD department. And once you're an associate member or even have your logbook, you would become a TAD and then work your way up the ranks that way. Or you can take the route that I did. And I only took this route because I don't have my PR.
Right.
So when I was first starting this journey, I was like, what can I do knowing that I can't get in the DGC and become a union member?
And sorry, did you start this journey in Australia, or was it not until you moved here that you?
Not until I moved here, and I found out that you needed your PR to get in the DGC. So I basically looked at it and was like, okay, well, if I want to be in a training environment that I can know everything there is to know about assistant directing, do I have to be in the union to do this? And I attribute a lot of my progress to a non-union assistant director, Rachel Rose, who's in the industry, and she's also taken the same path of just doing non-union work. There is a huge pool of non-union work, and you can survive and thrive in the non-union world, because when you're a union member, you can't do non-union work, or you're not meant to. So I never jumped into PAing because I was already a union PA. So I started actually as a first assistant director, which I would say, if you're given the opportunity, always work under a first before you just jump head first. It's an issue that I find with indies in general, and it's a problem that I had, that you jump into that role too fast without understanding what it needs, what that role.
Because there's a lot of like nuance, like prep that you need to know how to do, right? Like the prep side is huge.
It's
if you don't
huge,
know what you're doing.
but you never, like I never thought that I needed to do any prep being AD. I was
you just
like,
show up and run the schedule on the day.
Exactly. I was like, oh, the director will tell everyone everything they need to do. I just need to be like, roll, cut. No, but there's so much you need to know. So I jumped into the non-union world. I just started with shorts as an assistant director. I was thankful enough that my mindset was, learn everything I need to know. At the time, I was I was on a union show and managed to work myself into a position that would allow me to view the union ADs and their prep work and also on-set work. So that made me pull what information I was getting from them and bring it into the non-union world. So I strive myself in giving everyone a union experience at a non-union level, because a lot of like the AD is essentially the keeper of the time.
Yeah.
And it's usually like if your set has gone for 14 hours and you're volunteering, then it's probably the AD's fault for not putting their foot down, or being that, again, they're the line between the producers and the crew members.
Yeah.
And if the producers were like, no, we really need this shot, then the AD hasn't put their foot down for the crew members, because it's the safety of all crew.
Yeah, it's up to them to, protect the crew to a certain degree.
Yeah, exactly. But my suggestion would be, for if someone was trying to get into the non-union side, maybe again, just like word of mouth, who you know, start as a PA, let them know that you're trying to get into ADing. I would highly suggest work for as many first ADs as you can. You'll get good ones, you'll get bad ones, but you can build yourself up with different values from...
You can learn from a bad person as much as a good person, right?
100%.
You've got a lot of experience. It sounds like you've been on some very cool sets. Can you tell us about, one or two projects that you've worked on that are just really cool, essentially?
Okay. So actually very recently I did this set and it's just skyrocketed to my favorite one. It's not out yet, so I don't know what I can say. But to sum it up, it's a proof of concept for a feature that we were able to shoot on a volume stage. And the volume stage is essentially an LED wall, and it's a curved stage. We shot at Versatile, which is now the largest LED stage in North America. It's around 170 feet long, which is just mammothing when you're standing there or you're standing in the center. The echoing that happens is insane, but just viewing it is impressive. We were on a rooftop set, so the art department had to build this Goliath of a rooftop to slide into.
So you've got a practical rooftop, and then the entire environment is LED projected.
Yeah. And then we had fake falling snow. It was a stunt heavy portion that we were shooting. We were using a thing called Simunition, which it's a nuance to the industry. It's in replacement of bullet firing, but bullet firing with blanks. So it doesn't have projectiles. It has a 3 feet safety radius. It's really cool. If for any producers or filmmakers out there, go check out John Funk in Vancouver. He's a Simunition person. There's only 2 Simunition experts here. It simulates real gunfire
in a much safer way.
Much safer way. So for any ADs
so for you,
out there,
you're probably loving it.
I was like, amazing. But it still has a projectile that comes out the right side, or like the ejection that comes out the right side. Nothing projects. So dealing with that on an LED wall where it could potentially hit the wall and we could damage a $30 million piece of equipment. That was really cool because we sort of combined a lot of things that hadn't been seen on an LED, on a volume stage before.
Right. So it felt like you were part of something a bit groundbreaking, I guess.
It really did. We also we pushed the wall to its max at one stage. I remember the brain bar came. I was like, hey, you guys need to we need to tone something back because the wall's having a hard time. It was really impressive, and it was a good. It was really impressive to be a part of. I also had to work with 2 directors, 2 DPs, and 2 stunt coordinators on this, and I'm just one person. So it was interesting, bouncing between all of them and achieving this as well.
You must have had a little moment of just this is a pretty cool job.
It was. I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that
Yeah.
I've been able to have. I love what I do. Again, I used to be an actor in front of camera. Now I'm behind camera watching people who are so passionate. I like to find that for, like, as an AD, I like to see other people's passion and that we're all in this game to make something incredible come to life. And just being one of the first people brought in to oversee the schedule and creation, breaking down the script to seeing it come to life is amazing, that we're able to be in a world that we can do something that is so creative.
Yeah.
And every week is different. Like, you're always at a different location. There's always something that can go wrong. And for me, I love it when things go wrong. It's so cool to, I like to think that, man, imagine if you weren't here right now.
Yeah.
How would someone solve this problem? Or if it was like a huge success, it's like, if you weren't, this is where I give myself good grace. Or maybe it's like an ego boost. But like for me, I like to think of it, if something's going horribly wrong and we've adjusted something in the schedule, that's my blast of creativity. Because I'm like, well, if I wasn't here, would we have made all our shots?
Yeah.
Or would someone else have chosen that same path? I don't know. There's 100 different answers for every question.
Right. That's when your unique stamp is on that project forever when that happens.
Exactly.
Great. Well, I can't think of a better place to leave off than that. You've been such a great guest. Thank you so much for all of your insights. I'm sure there's going to be so many up and coming filmmakers who are going to take so much from today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed Carl's interview. We're going to have more from Carl and more from lots of filmmakers, so stay tuned.